Hello, drunkies. My name is Curtis Cottle, and welcome to another Eppy of Drunk Amazon Purchases. This is where I get drunk and buy things on Amazon. Not tonight necessarily, but just all of the time. And so what I like to do is share some of my purchases, let you know if I like them, don't like them, if you should buy them, which is usually always. I've got a cocktail here tonight. This might look like it's a little full or a lot of whiskey in it. And that's just because I put some ice in there and then a lot of whiskey in it. It's called a house pour. So a house pour is where you pour, like at a bar, they would measure out a certain amount of whiskey or vodka or whatever your spirit is. And they would, you'd have your standard amount that they measured out. House pour is you pour about that amount and then a lot more just to make your time worth it. I mean, you don't have to keep tracking back to the kitchen or your bar at your house to try and fill up your whiskey all the time. So it's easier just to do a house pour, more convenient, much more couch time. So today we're going to talk about some fun things. I've got, first I want to start off with the Tesla feature of the day. So this show is kind of immature, but the feature I'm going to show you on the Tesla is definitely not immature. It's a very adult, mature feature. So let's go on in and buzz in to the Tesla. So we have our Tesla screen here, and if we go on into the toy box, we'll be able to find a few options. So what we want to do is pick this one called the Whoopee Cushion. And then this allows you to give farts on demand. So we put farts on demand, or we can do farts on turn signal. And you can choose which farts you want. There's the Short Shorts Ripper, the Falcon Heavy, the Ludicrous Fart, Neurostink, Boring Fart, and I'm So Random. So I usually choose I'm So Random because it's my favorite option. And then what will happen is you can pick which seat. So I'm going to pick the passenger seat shotgun, and then you can also pick the back right. I don't know if you could hear that. The back left, passenger seat, or driver's side seat rather. But I usually like to pick a seat that somebody's unsuspecting. They get in my car, so oftentimes shotgun. And then, so what happens when you pick farts on demand, then anytime I push this button on the steering wheel over here, it rips a fart. So, very mature feature. Probably one of the best things they added into the Tesla updates. They do nice updates all the time with new features. Very effective for driving, useful, helps you focus, that kind of stuff. So, that's the Tesla feature of the day. I do want to apologize for the camera work. I'm just working with a cell phone right now, but shout out to some of my drunkies. Kyle S. Word. He mentioned that he would actually take care of my whole camera setup and microphone setup, so that's going to be upgraded here shortly, so you start to see a little bit of better camera work than me trying to hold the phone to show you fart noises. I got a couple other shout outs here. So we got a shout out to my friend Ryan D. Word. He helped me do some editing. I try to do as little editing as possible. I think it's very nice to see somebody real and authentic, and so I like to try and do the same. I just had a little video malfunction where my words weren't matching up with my mouth, so it's more like the Kung Fu videos. So got that fixed with some help from my friend Ryan D. Word. I got a shout out to David K. Word. He is someone I went to Canada recently with, which I'll get into in a minute. Went on a ski trip. And then the last one is shout out to Ian G. Word. He provided the liquor here today. It's this pheasant scotch. It's called the famous grouse scotch. We were just drinking it while we were making some pheasant sausages, so I assumed it was a pheasant, but apparently he brought the wrong bird to the sausage party. So Couple shout outs to my drunkies. So let's go on in. First thing I want to mention on what I bought on Amazon. I bought it in Canada, actually. It's called Montreal Steak Seasoning. And again, my camera will show it the right way when I get my new setup from Kyle S. Word. But if anybody's used Montreal Steak Seasoning, it's pretty popular, I know. But I had it on a Caesar. It's a Canadian drink, and I'll get back to that here in just a minute. But great, great purchase. In fact, I don't think that you should probably just pause the podcast and buy this right now because it's that good. Or you can continue watching and buy it while you're watching. So let's go on in and talk about skiing. So my friend David K. Word, one of the drunkies I gave a shout out today, he said, "Hey Curtis, I kind of want to go skiing. Not a lot of people have a flexible schedule and can afford to go. He said, I know you probably have both of those, so let's go skiing." And I said, sure, I'll go skiing. I just got to learn how to ski first. And so we started planning the ski trip. I haven't been out skiing since I was like a young child. And so I ended up deciding to buy ski gear and gear up. And the best place to do it is drinking on your couch in the living room on Amazon. So I'm going to go through some of the purchases that I bought. Bought most of my gear on Amazon, and it worked out really well. I happened across a really nice couple of options that worked sweet. So the first thing that I want to show you, and this is one thing that worked really well by accident. So I bought this face mask here, and it goes over your head, so it keeps you warm. But there's a key factor here, right where the mouth is. There's like a nose hole and some mouth airway holes. And I just bought, what I thought was the best value. My strategy for buying things on Amazon is, do they have a lot of reviews? And is it close to 5 stars? 5 stars, I don't believe it. If it's almost 5 stars or near 5 stars, then I think it's a valuable review product. So then that's kind of what I base my purchase on, and then is the price where I want it. So what this does is when you're wearing goggles, which I also bought on Amazon, and you breathe, it allows the air to go out instead of up into your goggles and fogs your goggles up. So my buddy who I was skiing with had some goggle trouble of fogging, and so he ended up trying to find a mask just like mine because mine worked so well. Here's the goggles that I bought. They got a lot of styles on Amazon. So one of the things I like about Amazon is you can go on in and pick whatever style you want instead of having to pick from just a couple of options at most stores. You pretty much have the widest selection out there. And Amazon's got some pretty unique styles from some pretty unusual places and carriers. So those are the goggles. I also bought some gloves. Fortunately, I bought these under gloves, these liner gloves. They came in real handy because my buddy David, whose glasses were fogging up, he borrowed them most of the time to wipe the fog away. So they worked out pretty well. I bought these gloves. Kept me warm just fine. It was super fucking cold. In Whistler, we went to Whistler, Canada. Bought some of these socks. Bought a pair every day. So there's a local shop in town. I bought a pair for $30. Then I went to Amazon. I bought 3 more pairs for the same price. I liked them just the same. So those are some of my purchases there. Skis. So here's where I ran into a snag. Amazon doesn't have a lot of good options or selection for skis. Yeah, you can buy them, but they don't have a lot of good choices. So I was forced to go to Amazon's best friend, eBay. And so I bought some used skis on eBay in bindings because I saw a decent deal where somebody had them, a year-old skis, and they worked out pretty well. And I'm going to have to give a shout out to my other drunkie, Will N-Word. He was the one that did all the research on what skis I should buy because I don't like to do that. And so he helped me out, and then I found them on eBay with the bindings and everything. But I was looking on eBay, and I think Mr. eBay is a drunkie, because what happens is if you look at the logo, the second letter is capitalized and the rest of it's not. I don't know if that's I tried it. It's not for pronunciation, eBay, or no, that's pretty much how you'd have to say it. He's just not trying to be cool. He's just really just a drunkie. So, I'm preferential to Amazon, but I can hang with some eBay if you like to have a couple cocktails. So, one of the things that I did buy on eBay also that was kind of a funny story is I bought these snow pants. There's this, if you're privy to skiing, there's this really expensive, high quality, very durable brand called Arctic Arc'teryx, and they're so high end that they put an apostrophe in their name because it's harder to search and find their product, but they just don't give a fuck because they're that good. It's one of the rules on finding good products is if they have apostrophe in the name. So then I was buying these used pants because they're normally like snow pants, $300-400 for a pair of pants. And so I found a used pair for $90 on eBay. I thought it was a sweet deal. Get the pants in, told my buddy, Will N-word, that I got these Arc'teryx pants. He goes, oh, you must have spent a fortune on those. And I said, nope, only $90 because I got them used. And so he goes, oh, let me check them out. Turns out they were not Arc'teryx pants. They were some other brand of pants that were just shitty pants that were used. And they went so far to put a cardboard tag on there that had Arc'teryx on there. So they were like really trying to push that these were Arc'teryx pants and fake that they were. So I ended up sending it back. But I was pretty embarrassed because I was, bragging up the brand name Visco Girl style pants, and then turns out they weren't even what I thought they were. So eBay can suck. Amazon's usually better. So skiing. So the plan was to go to Whistler, Canada. So we put a plan together. Whistler's a pretty sweet place. They got two mountains. They got one called Blackcomb and one called Whistler, and it's all in the same place, right adjacent to each other. So you get two mountains for the price of one, all the same ski pass. They even have a chairlift called Peak to Peak that'll take you across. If you don't want to walk from base to base, you can just ski halfway down the mountain and then shoot over to the other peak, whichever's preferential. I recommend getting a ski in, ski out lodging. It's so fun to be able to ski right down the mountain, right into your condo or dwelling. It's kind of sweet, actually, and then you ski right out of there in the morning. So we went on in to Canada, and when I'm in different countries or different areas, even different cultures, I like to try the local fare. I like to eat a lot. That's one of the main reasons I work out, is so I can eat more food. And so I was looking up some of the local fairs in Canada that I haven't had. I grew up next to Canada. I've been there a handful of times, but decided to just check out, see if I'm missing anything. So a Caesar, and the reason I bought this Montreal steak seasoning, which you should buy right now, is they put that, it's like a Bloody Mary. So they make this Bloody Mary, but it's made with clamato juice instead of Bloody Mary mix. Sounds like, a lot of people think that sounds gross. You don't taste any fishy clam or anything taste. It's just a really light tomato juice, and actually I prefer it to a Bloody Mary because Bloody Mary is kind of thick and heavy, and you get some of the same flavors, but it's a nice light, easygoing flavor. They put this Montreal steak seasoning on the rim, which is my favorite part. My second favorite part is, they decorate a Bloody Mary with some olives, cheese, and some different stuff. A Caesar is known for the decoration. They go over the top. So they put your olives, they put your cheese, they put your piece of beef jerky, they put a piece of bacon on there, they put a chicken wing on there, they put a sandwich on there. They put a bunch of decor on top of there, so you can pretty much order a Caesar and get your meal, breakfast. Usually you got a drink in the morning, so breakfast or lunch, whatever time you're ordering your Caesar, phenomenal drink. Would recommend. The other thing, obviously, the classic poutine out of Canada. We've kind of adopted that as something eclectic and cool in the United States because we do that when we steal other people's food a lot. But the gravy on the poutine in Canada is so much more flavorful. A lot of times here, the gravy is just all kind of bland, and I like bland gravy. I'll drink a bowl of gravy and ruin my life. But no, I think the gravy was just so much more flavorful on the poutine in Canada. And then the last thing was a butter tart, which I've never actually eaten. I didn't eat it over there. I kept saying I was going to eat it, but I never ate a butter tart. So it's like a little cup of pastry dough and then filled with some sort of a really sweet custard. So I ended up getting a little bit irritated that I didn't eat a butter tart when I was in Canada. So I was drinking a little bit and ordered some butter tarts on Amazon. So next Eppy, I'm going to do a quick throwback to how the butter tarts were because I haven't had one yet. So I'll fill you in a little bit later. So let's go on in and talk about Whistler a little bit more. It was a lot of fun. I couldn't believe the amount of people doing drugs there. I'm not really a drug person. I like to party, have a good time, but I'm not really a drug person. But there was so much drugs. And they were really cool about it. Like, it was so nonchalant. Usually when I think of drugs, it's kind of feels like a little bit tension or high strung. And they were, I mean, you just do you're at the bar, you do your drugs at the table, and server watches you, usually high five them or fist bump with your drugs in the hand, and you have a great time. We were hanging out with this person we just met there, and she pulled out of her, she was pulling out her clutch to pay for something, and she ended up dropping her drug bag. It's like a little sandwich bag, and it had like just little smorgasbord options of drugs in there. So, and she was very nice. She offered them to both of us. Of course, we turned the drugs down, but she's very, very hospitable, very Australian Canadian about it. So, yeah, it was a great time. So, when we were there, the McGregor fight was on. If anybody watched the McGregor fight, that was pretty fucking sweet. I'll tell you how sweet it was because I didn't watch it. So what happened was, it's really fucking cold out at Whistler when we went. It's not always that way, but it was like -5 degrees Fahrenheit. We have to use the imperial system here because I don't know how to calculate Celsius, and it's breath of fresh air for somebody to understand what temperature I'm talking about. So it was really cold, and we're walking around, and we got into this place. It was a big line on Saturday night, busy night, and we finally got in this place called Merlin's, and that's where the fight was. One of the places the fight was going to be held. We got in, but it's 5 hours till the fight, so we're drinking a couple beers, eating a couple chicken dings, and then we go on in. We see, you know what? It's been 2 hours. It's 3 hours to the fight. I want to go on and get some steak. We had steak on our mind for a while, so we decided to leave, go get some steak at a really nice steakhouse, kind of touristy, but it was a nice place. And it was a good steak there, and so we each got a filet and I think some other shit, maybe some mashed potatoes, and there was some sort of a garlic topping, stuffing on top of the steak, which I kind of liked, and a 9-ounce glass of wine, because you ain't got the time to go back to the bar and fill it up. So then we got some steak. We started waiting in line at another bar that was near the steakhouse that we walked to. And that's the nice thing about Whistler. It's a cute little place. It's big enough to walk around, get some exercise, but not too big to be frustrated. You walk anywhere you want to go. But when it's cold, it seems like a lot longer. So it was cold. We found this place nearby called Tapley's, and we were standing outside of Tapley's. The line just was not moving. It was 2.5 hours from the fight. It was $60 cover to get in, which is also the same price to just buy the fight on your phone on the ESPN app. So David's like, you know what, I might just buy the app and go back to the condo and relax. And I was trying to meet up a couple of friends that we'd met out there. And I was like, you know what, I'll just hop to the bar across the street and we'll see what happens with the fight. I don't know if I'll see it or not. So I go into this bar. It's like a $55 cover. My friends come on in. By the time they get there 15, 20 minutes later, the line is so long that they can't get in that bar. So I paid $55 for nothing, and then I go in and try to buy drinks while I'm in there. They have a $25 minimum, so I basically have to buy 2 drinks. I do that twice, and I decided just to go on in and leave. Met the people. Then in the meantime, David texted me. He said, hey, we got a stamp when we left Merlin's and let me right back in. I didn't have to wait in any line, so I'm here going to watch the McGregor fight. And I was so pissed. So I was like, all right, we're going back to Merlin's. And so sure enough, they let us in too with the stamp, and we get in there and we look up and the fight had just ended. Because if you watch the fight, turns out it's 40 seconds long. Pretty entertaining, actually, if you watched it, and I'm a big McGregor fan. I'm also kind of a Cowboy fan, so who's the guy he was fighting, Cerrone. And so I didn't really care who won, but I was kind of rooting for McGregor because he's really obnoxious, and I like it when people get irritated at McGregor, so it's kind of fun for me to watch. But, yeah, so we missed the fight, so I walked all over this cold-ass place with the whole thought in mind that we were going to stay out and watch the fight, and didn't even catch it. But the good news is it was so short. When I was watching the highlights were just the entire fight, so that ended up working out pretty well. So would highly recommend going on in to Whistler. It's a great place to ski. Highly recommend buying all your ski stuff on Amazon. I mean, you can get styles, you get choices, you get options on Amazon, and just use that review rule. If it's 5 stars, that's too good to be true. 5 stars doesn't exist. It's kind of like a unicorn fucking a unicorn. You never see that. So make sure it's not quite 5 stars, but it's pretty darn close. and then make sure there's a lot of reviews. Those are your good options when buying Amazon. So thanks for listening, Drunkies. This is another episode of Drunk Amazon Purchases, and look forward to seeing you next time, and I look forward to Kyle S. Ward upgrading my equipment. Thanks a bunch.